Have you ever stopped to think that a single, seemingly harmless decision might have set you back years of financial trouble without you even realizing it? Perhaps you're trying hard, working diligently, trying to organize your finances, but still feel like you're never making any progress. And the most curious thing is that, most of the time, the problem wasn't a lack of discipline, laziness, or bad intentions. The problem was simply never having learned a basic rule about money. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever financed a car with a monthly payment that fit your budget? Have you ever heard someone say, or even said to yourself, that it was better to extend the financing to be comfortable each month? Or perhaps you've traded in your car before even finishing paying off the previous one, believing that it was normal, part of adult life. If any of these situations sound familiar, stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. The truth is that almost no one wakes up wanting to make a bad financial decision. People want comfort, convenience, and security for their family. In this context, a car becomes a symbol of achievement and progress. But there's a silent trap hidden right there. Consumer decisions that seem small, but which, added up over time, drain money, energy, and opportunities. And when you realize it, years have passed. Perhaps you've never stopped to consider this, but long-term financing, minimum down payments, and nice monthly payments aren't just neutral choices. They carry invisible consequences. Consequences that don't appear in the first month or even the first year, but that accumulate. You keep working, you keep paying, and yet you still feel like you're always playing catch-up. And you know what's most dangerous about all this? No one warns you. No one sits down with you and explains how poorly structured consumer decisions can hinder your wealth building. On the contrary, the entire market is designed to convince you that it's okay to break certain rules as long as the payment fits within your monthly budget. But does fitting within your budget today mean it won't cost you dearly tomorrow? Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever had the feeling that money comes in and goes out, but there's never anything left over? That your long-term plans always get postponed? Often, setbacks in your financial life don't stem from big mistakes, but from small repeated decisions made without awareness. There's a simple rule, ignored by most, that was created precisely to avoid this type of financial trap related to cars. A rule that doesn't prevent you from having a good car, but protects you from turning an achievement into a burden. And the problem isn't breaking this rule. It's never knowing it existed. In a moment, I'm going to show you exactly what this rule is, why so many people break it without realizing it, and how this might be holding you back financially to this day. Pay attention, because the next point completely changes how you look at simple everyday decisions. And if, while you're listening to me now, any of these situations have crossed your mind, I want to invite you to do something simple but important. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. It could be a personal experience, a decision you now see differently, or even a question you've never dared to voice. This space isn't just for listening, it's for sharing, for realizing you're not alone in this. When you comment, you're not just writing a few words. You're helping other people going through the same situation to recognize themselves as well. Sometimes someone reads a comment and thinks, "It's not just me," and that changes everything. If this conversation is opening your mind in any way, liking the video is a simple way to show that this type of content needs to continue existing, reaching more people who are still stuck in financial decisions that no one has ever properly explained. And if you feel that this more conscious look at money, consumption, and long-term choices is lacking today, consider subscribing to the channel. The idea here isn't to point fingers or promise magic formulas, but to have honest conversations about real decisions that truly impact life. Your subscription helps this content continue, gain momentum, and reach people who don't even know they're trapped in these silent pitfalls. Gradually, this community is forming exactly like this. People who decide to think before acting, who want to understand the game before playing. And in the next point, I'm going to show you what this simple rule is that almost no one has told you, why it's so ignored, and how it can completely change the way you make decisions from now on. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this is where a lot of things really start to make sense. There's a simple, almost unspoken rule that's rarely explained clearly, but it completely changes how you view buying a car and, especially, its impact on your financial journey. It's known as the 24-10 rule. And before you think this is just another theory far removed from reality, let me show you how it directly connects to everyday decisions. The logic behind the rule is simple, precisely because it was created to protect, not to complicate. The 20% represents the minimum down payment you should make when buying a car. This exists to prevent you from starting a financial relationship already on the edge, without a safety margin. When you don't make a down payment, or make very little, you're not just financing a car, you're financing risk, interest, and monthly pressure. The down payment acts as an emotional filter. It forces you to reflect on whether that decision makes sense now, or if it's just an impulse. The number 4 in the rule refers to the maximum financing period, 4 years. And here lies a hidden truth that almost no one discusses. The longer the financing, the cheaper it seems in the month, but the more expensive it becomes over time. Extending terms gives a false sense of control, when in reality, you are extending a commitment for an entire phase of your life. 4 years is not a random number. It is a limit designed to prevent you from becoming trapped with an asset that loses value while consuming your income and peace of mind. The number 10 is perhaps the most overlooked point, the monthly. Payment should not exceed 10% of your monthly income. This isn't rigidity, it's protection. When the payment exceeds this limit, the car ceases to be just a means of transportation and begins to compete with bigger dreams, investments, freedom, and future choices. The problem isn't just the amount of the payment. It's the silent impact it has on your mindset, constantly putting you in financial survival mode. Notice how this rule isn't meant to stop you from having a better car. It's meant to prevent you from falling into an emotional trap disguised as an achievement. People who think long-term understand that financial decisions aren't isolated events. They're part of a gradual transformation, a more conscious mindset, where each choice aligns with the future you want to build. Behind good decisions, there's almost always discipline, patience, and clarity. When you look at the 4-20-10 rule calmly, you understand that it's not about cars. It's about freedom, about not turning an immediate desire into a constant burden, about making decisions that respect your current income without robbing you of future possibilities. And when this logic sinks in, something changes. You begin to see consumer choices as pieces of a larger puzzle, not as isolated events. And this is exactly where the conversation starts to get even more interesting, because understanding the rule is only the first step. The real impact appears when you realize where, how, and why so many people break this rule without realizing it, believing that everything is under control, while in practice they are just repeating a pattern that holds back their financial lives year after year. If all of this makes sense to you, leave a comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this is exactly where most people get lost without realizing it. It's not when the rule is presented, nor when the car is chosen. It's at the moment when everything seems harmless. Financing over 60, 72, or even 84 months doesn't sound like a mistake. On the contrary, it's sold as a solution. The monthly payment is smaller, the salesperson smiles, the contract seems adjusted to reality, and the feeling is one of relief. After all, it fits in the budget. The minimum or zero down payment further reinforces this illusion. It seems smart to preserve money, maintain liquidity, and avoid depleting your capital. But there's a hidden truth behind this. When you don't make a down payment, you start the journey already owing more than the car is actually worth from day one. And this creates an unbalanced relationship with money, because you spend years paying for something that depreciates while consuming your future income. The seemingly nice installment is the most dangerous of all. It doesn't hurt at first. It doesn't squeeze in the first month. It doesn't cause immediate pain. And that's precisely why it goes unnoticed. The problem is that this installment doesn't exist alone. It walks hand in hand with rent, food, unexpected expenses, maintenance, insurance, fuel, and often other loans. Little by little, without warning, it occupies mental space, reduces margin, and diminishes choices. Financial life begins to become rigid, inflexible, and inflexible. The real impact doesn't appear in the short term. It emerges over the years. It appears when you realize you've postponed investments, postponed plans, postponed important decisions. Because there was always a fixed, silent commitment. It appears when the opportunity arises, but you can't take advantage of it because your income is already committed. And then comes the strange feeling of always working, always paying, but never moving forward. Many people only wake up to this when time has already passed, when the car is still being paid off, but no longer excites them, when the desire to change arises, but the contract still binds them, when life demands a change, but there is no room for maneuver. It is at this moment that the pain appears, not as a shock, but as frustration. The realization that small, repeated, and seemingly safe decisions have created a setback that is difficult to recover from. And the hardest part is that this has nothing to do with a lack of intelligence or effort. It has to do with a mindset shaped by a system that normalizes long time frames, minimizes interest rates, and hides the true cost of time. Many people's financial journeys don't stall because of big mistakes, but because of overly comfortable decisions made without awareness of the accumulated impact. When you start to see this, something changes. You begin to understand that it wasn't bad luck or fate. They were choices made without all the information. And this revelation, although uncomfortable, is liberating because it shows that there is another path, another way to decide, another possible relationship with consumption and freedom. If this part of the conversation is affecting you in any way, write it in the comments. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because this is where something that many people have never felt when the topic is cars emerges. Relief. Relief from realizing that there is a simple, possible, and realistic way to escape the endless loop of installments. The 24/10 rule is not just a set of numbers. It acts as a conscious break amidst emotional decisions. And when someone starts following this logic, the contrast with those who don't becomes very clear. Those who respect this rule tend to change cars less often, not because they deprive themselves, but because they choose better. The car ceases to be a constant source of anxiety and becomes merely a tool. Interest paid over time decreases drastically. The budget gains breathing room, and, almost imperceptibly, something rare in financial life emerges. Margin. Margin to deal with unforeseen events, to plan, to invest, to make decisions. More calmly. Sleep improves not because of the car, but because of the absence of the invisible pressure it used to generate. On the other hand, those who ignore this rule end up trapped in a repeating cycle. One installment ends, another begins. The car hasn't even finished being paid off, but it's already lost its shine. The desire to trade it in comes before financial freedom. And so a journey is built, marked by long-term commitments, little flexibility, and a constant feeling that money never works in your favor. It's not a lack of rent. Often it's an excess of commitments taken on too early. Here's an important revelation. The car isn't the villain in this story. It never was. The real problem lies in buying something beyond your current stage of life. In trying to live today, a lifestyle that should be built gradually. The 24/10 rule brings exactly this awareness. It adjusts expectations to reality, desires to the right moment, and consumption to strategy. This changes your mindset because you stop making isolated decisions and start to see their long-term impact. When that switch flips, something interesting happens behind the scenes of your financial life. You start to see opportunities where before there were only bills. The money that used to disappear in interest begins to gain purpose. Investing no longer seems distant. The transformation isn't immediate, but it's consistent. Each decision starts to carry less emotional weight and more rational clarity. It's not about living with less, but about living with more control. This clarity brings a rare feeling. You realize you don't need to rush through everything right now. That each phase has its own pace. That buying within your current reality isn't a step backward, it's a strategy. And the sooner this truth is understood, the lower the emotional and financial cost paid along the way. When you understand this, it becomes impossible to view a car merely as a status symbol or a momentary achievement. It starts to be seen as part of a larger plan, aligned with who you are today and who you want to become tomorrow. And this shift in perspective opens the door to smarter, more balanced, and far more sustainable decisions. If this contrast between the two paths is becoming clear to you, comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because everything that has been said so far begins to converge on a crucial point. The exact moment when you are about to make the next decision. Not when the contract is already signed, nor when the installment is already being deducted from your account, but before that. In the quiet moment when no one is pressuring you, when there is no salesperson around, and the choice is yours alone. That's when a simple question can completely change the course of your financial journey. Before thinking about model, brand, status, or comfort, there's a truth that separates those who mature financially from those who continue spinning in the same cycle. Most people make decisions looking only at the present, at immediate pleasure, at the feeling of accomplishment, at external validation. But financial maturity begins when you learn to look at the impact, not the appearance. At the accumulated effect of decisions, not at momentary relief. And the question is direct, almost uncomfortable, precisely because it shatters the illusion. Is this accelerating my financial life, or holding me back for a few more years? It's not a question against the car. It's a question in favor of its transformation. It forces you to get out of autopilot mode and into conscious mode, to see behind the scenes that are usually hidden behind small installments and long terms. When you start using this question as a filter, something changes in your mindset. You begin to understand that not every decision that fits in your budget fits your current stage of life. That not everything that is possible now is smart now. And this realization brings a strange freedom at first, because it requires saying no to some things today, but opens up space for much more tomorrow. This mental shift doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually, decision by decision. You begin to realize that accelerating your financial life isn't about earning more immediately, but about making fewer mistakes repeatedly. It's about aligning your choices with the right moment, respecting your pace, your income, your journey. That's financial maturity. It's not rigidity. It's not fear. It's not scarcity. It's awareness. Behind this change lies something powerful: clarity. Clarity to understand that a car can be an ally or a hindrance, depending on the decision behind it. Clarity to realize that buying something beyond your current life stage doesn't put you ahead. It keeps you stuck. And when this clarity sets in, you start making choices that align with the future you want to build, not just the present you want to impress. This simple and direct question isn't just for cars. It's starting to resonate in other areas of life, in other consumption habits, in other decisions. And without realizing it, your financial journey begins to change direction, not through major revolutions, but through more conscious, aligned, and less impulsive choices. If this question has already started to stir things up inside you, leave a comment below. Conscious choice. If you've made it this far, it's because this conversation made sense on some level, and when that happens, it's worth continuing this journey together. Subscribing to the channel is just a simple way of saying that this type of content, direct, honest, and applicable to real life, helps you make better decisions every day. That's how we build a space where we can talk about money without pressure, without empty promises, just with clarity. If you want, you can also leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end," or "This message was for me." This helps too. Understand who is truly on this journey and creates an exchange that goes far beyond the video. And if at any point you felt that this conversation resonated with you, liking the video is a silent way to strengthen that connection and help this content reach more people who are still stuck with these same questions. If this topic resonated with you, there's a video right here that complements this subject, delves even deeper into these choices, and helps you see the next step more clearly. Click and continue reading there.